In a sleek Manhattan boardroom, a black single mother stood before a table of executives, her confidence unshaken by their smirks and whispered jabs. Hours later, she walked away from a $300 million deal, leaving the room in stunned silence and exposing truths about power, prejudice, and the cost of underestimating her. What happened in those few hours would turn a routine business meeting into a story that shook the corporate world. Lena Carter, a 38-year-old tech entrepreneur, had spent the last decade building her company, Innovate AI, from a small startup in her Brooklyn apartment to a major player in artificial intelligence solutions. As a black single mother raising her 12-year-old son, Jaden, Lena had faced countless challenges, late nights coding while Jaden slept, scraping together funds to keep the business afloat, and navigating an industry where people like her were often overlooked. But her determination and brilliance had paid off. Innovate AI's proprietary AI platform, which optimized supply chain logistics, was now coveted by some of the biggest corporations in the world. On a crisp October morning in 2024, Lena arrived at the headquarters of Apex Global, a multinational logistics firm based in New York City. Apex had been courting Innovate AI for months, eager to acquire Lena's platform to streamline their operations across 40 countries. The deal on the table was valued at $300 million, a figure that would secure Lena's financial future, fund Jaden's education, and cement her company's legacy. Lena had prepared meticulously for the meeting, reviewing data, refining her pitch, and anticipating every question. She wore a tailored navy suit, her hair pulled back in a sleek bun, exuding the kind of quiet confidence that came from years of proving herself. The boardroom was filled with Apex's top executives, mostly older white men, with a few women and people of color sprinkled among them. As Lena set up her presentation, she noticed the sidelong glances and hushed conversations.
She was used to this.
In rooms like these, she often felt like an outsider, her presence questioned before she even spoke. But she pushed the feeling aside, focusing on the task at hand. This wasn't just about her. It was about the team she'd built, the investors who believed in her, and the future she wanted for Jaden. Lena began her presentation, walking the executives through Innovate AI's platform, its ability to predict supply chain disruptions, optimize routes, and cut costs by up to 20%. The numbers were impressive, backed by case studies from smaller clients who'd seen transformative results. She spoke with clarity and authority, her voice steady as she fielded technical questions from Apex's CTO, Michael Reynolds. But as the presentation went on, Lena noticed a shift in the room's energy. Some executives seemed disengaged, checking their phones or exchanging looks. Others asked questions that felt less like inquiries and more like challenges. One executive, Robert Klein, a senior vice president in his 50s, leaned back in his chair with a smirk. "This all sounds very ambitious," he said, his tone dripping with condescension. "But how do we know this isn't just another overhyped tech fad? I mean, your company's impressive for what it is, but you're asking us to bet $300 million on something unproven at our scale." Lena kept her composure, explaining that Innovate AI had already been tested with mid-sized firms and was ready for global implementation. But Klein pressed further. "No offense, Ms. Carter, but you're a small operation. How do we know you can handle a partnership with a company like Apex?" Lena felt the sting of his words, but didn't flinch. She'd heard this kind of skepticism before, questions that weren't really about her product but about her. She responded with data, citing a 98% client satisfaction rate and a projected ROI for Apex within 18 months. But as she spoke, another executive, David Hensley, chuckled under his breath. "I'm sorry," he said, not sounding sorry at all, "but it's hard to take this seriously when it's coming from, well, you know." He gestured vaguely, leaving the implication hanging in the air. The room went quiet. Lena's heart pounded, but she kept her gaze steady. She knew exactly what he meant. She'd faced these microaggressions before, comments that danced around her race and gender without saying it outright. A few executives shifted uncomfortably, but no one spoke up. The CEO, Margaret Ellison, a polished woman in her 60s, cleared her throat. "Let's stay focused," she said, but her tone lacked conviction. Lena continued, wrapping up her presentation with a call to finalize the deal, emphasizing the mutual benefits for both companies. As the meeting ended, Lena shook hands with the executives, her smile professional despite the knot in her stomach. She overheard Klein mutter to Hensley, "She's got guts, I'll give her that, but she's out of her league." Hensley laughed, adding, "Yeah, single mom from Brooklyn thinking she can play with the big boys? Good luck." Lena pretended not to hear, but their words burned. She left the building, her mind racing. She'd expected tough negotiations, but this felt personal, dismissive in a way that went beyond business. Back at InnovateAI's office, Lena sat down with her team, her CTO, Priya Sharma, her CFO, Marcus Lee, and a handful of engineers who'd been with her from the start. She recounted the meeting, sparing no details about the executives' behavior. Priya shook her head. "They're underestimating us, Lena. They think they can lowball you because of who you are." Marcus agreed, pointing out that Apex's offer, while substantial, undervalued InnovateAI's platform compared to similar deals in the industry. "They're acting like they're doing us a favor," he said. "But they need us more than we need them." Lena knew they were right. Apex's logistics network was struggling. Supply chain disruptions had cost them $500 million in the past year alone. InnovateAI's platform was their best shot at turning things around. But the disrespect in that boardroom wasn't just a slight, it was a red flag. Lena had built her company on integrity, hiring a diverse team and fostering a culture where everyone's voice mattered. Partnering with a company that dismissed her so openly could undermine everything she'd worked for. That afternoon, Lena made a decision that would change everything. She called her lawyer, Sarah Nguyen, and instructed her to draft a letter to Apex Global. The letter was polite but firm. InnovateAI was withdrawing from the acquisition talks. Lena cited strategic differences and a lack of alignment in values, but the subtext was clear. She wasn't going to let her company be undervalued or her dignity be trampled. By 4 p.m., Sarah sent the letter to Apex's legal team, effectively canceling the $300 million deal. The news hit Apex like a thunderbolt. Margaret Ellison, the CEO, called Lena personally, her tone a mix of shock and urgency. "Miss Carter, I think there's been a misunderstanding," she said. "We're very interested in moving forward. Can we discuss this further?" Lena was courteous but unwavering. "I appreciate the call, Margaret, but I've made my decision. InnovateAI will explore other opportunities." She hung up, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders. Word of the canceled deal spread quickly. By the next morning, industry blogs and news outlets were buzzing with the story. A headline on TechCrunch read, "Black entrepreneur walks away from $300 million deal after tense Apex Global meeting." Social media amplified the news, with posts praising Lena's courage and calling out Apex's behavior. Some users shared their own stories of being dismissed in corporate settings, turning the incident into a broader conversation about race, gender, and power in the tech industry. Apex's stock took a hit, dropping 3% as investors questioned the company's ability to address its logistics challenges without InnovateAI's platform. Analysts speculated that Apex had miscalculated, assuming Lena would be desperate to close the deal. Instead, her decision sent a clear message. She wasn't here to play by their rules. Meanwhile, InnovateAI's profile soared. Other companies, including a European logistics giant and a Silicon Valley tech firm, reached out to Lena, expressing interest in partnerships or acquisitions at even higher valuations. For Lena, the decision wasn't just about business. It was personal. That evening, she sat down with Jaden, who had heard about the deal from a friend's parent. "Mom, did you really say no to all that money?" he asked, his eyes wide. Lena smiled. "It's not about the money, Jaden.
It's about respect.
I want you to grow up knowing that you don't have to let people treat you like you're less than them." Jaden nodded, his pride in his mother evident. The fallout continued for Apex. Employees within the company, particularly those from marginalized groups, began speaking out about a toxic culture in the C-suite. An internal memo leaked to the press revealed that several executives, including Klein and Hensley, had a history of dismissive behavior toward diverse partners and employees. Margaret Ellison issued a public apology, promising an internal review and diversity training, but the damage was done. Klein and Hensley were quietly sidelined, their roles reduced as Apex scrambled to repair its reputation. Lena, meanwhile, was fielding new opportunities. She wasn't in a rush to sign another deal. She wanted the right partner, one that valued her company and her vision. She also started mentoring other Black entrepreneurs, sharing her story at industry conferences and community events. Her message was simple: know your worth and don't let anyone make you feel small. Innovate AI continued to grow, securing new clients and expanding its platform's capabilities. The truth that shocked everyone wasn't just that Lena had walked away from $300 million, it was why. The boardroom mockery had revealed a deeper issue: a corporate culture that underestimated people like Lena, assuming they could be intimidated or bought. But Lena's decision to cancel the deal was a wake-up call, not just for Apex but for an industry that too often overlooked the brilliance of those who didn't fit the usual mold. For Lena, it was a reminder of her own power, a power she'd earned through years of hard work, resilience, and an unwavering belief in herself and her son.